The spear was the simplest of polearms, a wooden shaft tipped with an iron head. It could be made cheaply, in vast numbers, and in many lengths, short for throwing, long for bracing, or heavy for mounted use as the knightly lance. Its reach and versatility made it indispensable. In early medieval Europe, shield walls bristled with spears, forming a barrier that could blunt cavalry charges. The Bayeux tapestry shows Norman infantry wielding them at the Battle of Hastings. By the 13th century, manuscripts like the Maciejewski Bible depict spearmen holding lines against knights in full charge. Spears were also used as javelins, hunting weapons, and even in specialized designs such as boar spears with crossbars to stop an enraged animal from sliding down the shaft. Despite its simplicity, the spear could dominate the battlefield. A wall of spear points was a terror even to the heavily armoured cavalry. From peasant levies to noble lancers, the spear was a backbone of medieval armies. The bill, or billhook, looked like a long pole tipped with a farmer's hedge cutting blade. Its hooked edge could slice, snag, and drag, perfect for tearing reins, pulling riders from the saddle, or ripping into weak spots of armour. By the 14th and 15th centuries, the billhook was standard among English infantry. Unlike specialised weapons like the poleaxe, the billhook's appeal was its familiarity. Many soldiers had used billhooks on farms, so adapting it for war required little training. This practicality meant vast numbers of infantry could be armed quickly and cheaply. The billhook was a reminder that medieval warfare wasn't only shaped by knightly equipment. It showed how ordinary tools could be turned into weapons of war, simple, brutal, and effective in the hands of common soldiers. The halberd was a 3-in-1 polearm, a thrusting spike on top, an axe blade on the side, and a hook on the back. This combination made it ideal for stopping cavalry, smashing armour, or dragging riders from the saddle, all with one weapon. It emerged in the 14th century and became iconic in Swiss warfare. At battles like Morgarten and Zempax, halberd-armed infantry broke the dominance of mounted elites. Their success spread across Europe, inspiring German Landsknecht mercenaries to adopt halberd alongside pikes. Illustrations such as the Luzerne shilling show blocks of Swiss soldiers wielding halberds in disciplined ranks. On the battlefield, the halberd was devastating. Infantry could thrust to hold cavalry, then swing the axe to crush helmets or armour. The hook was particularly feared. Over time, the weapon also gained a ceremonial role. Even today, the Swiss Guard at the Vatican carry polished halberds as a symbol of their origins. The poleaxe was built for knights fighting knights. Typically shorter than a halberd, it combined a hammer or axe head, a back spike, and a thrusting spike on top, all mounted to a reinforced shaft. It was carefully balanced for duels and brutal close combat. Emerging in the 14th century, the poleaxe was a specialist weapon for armoured warfare. Judicial duels often featured poleaxes, and combat manuals such as those by Hans Talhofer show detailed illustrations. On the battlefield, dismounted knights and men-at-arms also carried poleaxes. In Agincourt in 1415, French knights fighting on foot wielded them in the mud, where horses were useless. Their reinforced shafts, often banded with steel stripes called langlets, allowed them to withstand heavy impact. The poleaxe symbolized knightly warfare at its most technical and deadly. It was not a peasant's tool, but a professional's weapon, crafted for duels and close combat where the best armoured men sought to outwit and overwhelm each other. The bardiche was Eastern Europe's great axe, a massive blade, often over half a metre long, fixed to a tall wooden pole. Unlike halberds, it had no hook or top spike, just raw chopping power. By the 14th century, bardiches were common among Russian and Polish infantry. A rank of soldiers wielding bardiches could deliver devastating chopping blows, hacking through shields, helmets and armour with sheer force. Surviving examples in museums show blades scarred with heavy use, some nearly as long as a man's arm. Their size made them less versatile than halberds, but more intimidating in raw power. Infantry armed with bardiches didn't finesse their enemies, they crushed them. The bardiche symbolised Eastern Europe's infantry style, heavy, brutal and forceful. It wasn't elegant, but it was devastatingly effective, proving that overwhelming power could be just as decisive as precision on the medieval battlefield. The pike was essentially the spear scaled up, often 15 to 20 feet long, designed for use in close, disciplined formations. Alone it was unwieldy. in the hands of hundreds, it was unstoppable. The Swiss perfected pike tactics in the 14th century. At Morgarten and Zempax, their pikemen stopped heavily armoured knights, overturning centuries of cavalry dominance. German Landsknecht mercenaries soon copied their methods, forming vast squares of pikemen. For cavalry, facing a pike block was terrifying. Horses impaled themselves before even reaching the line, and knights who closed in found themselves crushed by ranks of thrusting poles. The pike remained dominant well into the 16th century, and used in enormous formations of tens of thousands of men. Its legacy was profound. It marked the shift from medieval knightly warfare to Renaissance mass infantry. For centuries, the sight of levelled pikes was the very image of organised European battle. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe for weekly videos.